Welcome to the Week 1 recap show. We're going to play every game that was played on the Sunday. We played our first 4 games. Week 1 of the Hometown Football League. Big Polly coming to you. And earlier you might have seen San Francisco play San Diego. San Francisco winning 31-17. Tampa Bay 23-19 over Tennessee. And a couple of games that were blowouts that really weren't expected. St. Louis 40-17 over the Colts. And the Chiefs beating up the Rams 34-15. So now we're going to play out all the other Sunday games and give you a recap of those. We start with Carolina and Buffalo, who are both in the Eastern Division now. It was Buffalo prevailing, as we will see the box score of that very shortly. 24-17. It was, let's see here, it was Simpson threw a pass in the game. It was on the mark for 3 yards. Newton had the better game. Cam Newton throwing. He was 67.2, 23 of 41, 201 yards. It was Simpson, 20 carries, 84 yards to lead all rushers. Moulds had 6 catches for 39, but Baldwin had a 100-yard game, 5 for 106. And the leading tackler was Luke Kuechly with 9 tackles. MVP of the game was Baldwin, as Buffalo trailed 17-14 going into the fourth quarter, got 10, got the win. I wasn't done with the box yet. That seems to be a habit of mine. Buffalo outgained Carolina 366-279. Carolina had 64 plays. Buffalo had 66. Time of possession went to Carolina. Penalties were, let me see here. Penalties, Carolina had 7. Buffalo had 4. But that was it. It was Buffalo winning 24-17. They win their first game. Carolina loses their first game. But we're early in the season. In the Eastern Division still, we had Pittsburgh play Philadelphia. And it was 17-6 Eagles over the Steelers. Wentz was the MVP. He threw a 45 pass to McCoy. And Pritchard with an 86-yard punt return sealed that deal. So Wentz was the MVP. And we take a look at the team stats. Yardage was about even, 233 for Pittsburgh, 283 for Philly. Turnovers, well, Pittsburgh committed 3, which probably explains why they got 6 points, 7 penalties for each team. Pittsburgh ran 60 plays to Philly's 59, so you can't get much closer to that. Time of possession was close. Pittsburgh had all kinds of trouble on third down conversions, only 3 for 14. Player stats. Wentz had the better day, 20 of 36, 212 yards. Was the weather a factor in this, I wonder? Now, they were playing in a 10-20 mile an hour wind, 83 degrees, which might have explained the low scores. McCoy had the better rushing game, 18 for 49. Antonio Brown had 6 catches for 81 for the Steelers. McCoy, 6 for 64 for Philly. And I always like to look at that leading tackler. It was Woodson with 10. So Philadelphia 17, Pittsburgh 6. They are both in the Eastern Division. Now, this is a game I think some of you might have thought, I might have wished that I had done, Washington and New York. We'll get plenty of chances to see. I call Washington now the Presidents, for lack of a better term, because still they're the Washington Football Club in real life, and they are no longer the Redskins. When I started season 1, I called them the Redskins, because at that point, when I started the season, they were the Redskins. They're the Washington Football Club, so I'm just going to call them the Presidents until they get a new name. 25-20, the Presidents, oh, that's hard to say, get the win. And it was Jurgensen throwing to Clark that sealed the deal for Washington with 3:59 left. Jurgensen won the MVP. They were playing in rainy conditions in Washington. Washington outgaining New York 428 to 246. New York had a very bad time throwing the ball, 11 of 29 for a $180. Jurgensen was a little more on point, 28 for 47, 360. and neither team's running game tore the house down. Y.A. Tittle is your quarterback for New York now. You might remember last year he was on the Gold Raiders, but New York had an earlier draft order. They got to pick before San Francisco got to make their pick, so it was Tittle. Not a great job in his debut, taking over for Eli Manning. 11 of 29, 181 pick, 2 touchdowns. Told you about Jurgensen earlier. Rondé Barber had the best rushing game, 14 carries, 58. Clark, 10 for 143 for Washington. I'm going to call them the Redskins. You watch before this is over. Leading tackler was Glenn, 10 tackles. Hamburger had 8 for Washington. And that's it for that. So we're moving right along. Chicago played Detroit. And in that, it was Detroit nipping the Bears 15-14. Sid Luckman, you might remember he had a couple of good games in relief in the latter part of the season. It was Sanders who was the MVP, as Detroit, with 2 touchdowns in the last part of the fourth quarter, the last 11 minutes. They went for 2, down 14-3 to get it to 14-9, but they missed the 2. And then Sanders with a minute 50 left to go, got another touchdown. Again, the 2-pointer was missed. So it was 15-14. Yardage, Chicago had 365, Detroit 275. 12 penalties in the game. Chicago had 56 plays and Detroit 67. Chicago also had the better possession time at 31-45. Luckman had a good game, 300 yards, 20 of 35, 307. Peyton, 17 of 53, but Sanders, 13 of 59. And we had Peyton and Graham each with 5 catches. Peyton for 54. Graham for 76. Your leading tackler was, with 11, Brian Urlacher. So that's how that game went. Battle of Ohio in the Northern Division. It was Cleveland and Cincinnati. Your winner there, Cincinnati, 27-17. This is a bit of a surprise. Let's go through the stats here. Kenny Anderson was the MVP. Cincinnati got off to a good start. They were up 17-7. Cleveland tried to keep it close, but it was the Bengals prevailing over the Browns. We'll look at the team stats. 343, 404. 404 for Cincinnati. Anderson had a good day, 20 of 31 for 241. Only 8 penalties in the game. That's why you turn the penalties off. I turned the penalties down 20%. Anderson had the better throwing day. Graham was 20 of 36 for 296. I do seem to remember Cincinnati was able to stymie Cleveland in the 2 games they played last year. Brown was only held to 47 yards on 9 carries. And Corey Dillon had a great day, 20 for 116. Ross with 6 catches, the tight end for 92. And the leading tackler for this game was... Actually, we had Dixon and Darden each with 8 for Cleveland. So Cincinnati 27 and Cleveland 17. Atlanta and Jacksonville doing battle. And it was all Jacksonville, 38-7. Well, this was interesting. Game was played in heavy rain. Taylor was the MVP. Team stats, it was actually Atlanta doing better on yardage, 354, 267. Only 8 penalties in this game as well. Ryan was outshone by David Gerard, 14 of 23, a $133, a 110.6 rating. Taylor, 23 for 134, led all rushers. And Julio Jones had 8 catches for 137. Now, keep in mind, for a player to move to another team, they have had to have played it down. Julio Jones, of course, now I think he plays for Seattle, but he has not actually played a regular season down yet. So maybe next year, if Seattle is on top of the draft order or had the worse record than Atlanta, you might see Julio Jones over there. Over there. And your leading tackler was Ramsey for Jacksonville with 8. So how about that? Jacksonville, who was got the second pick in the spring's draft, and they pound Atlanta 38-7. So we've already played Tennessee and Tampa Bay. Let's show you New Orleans and Miami. And the winner there was Miami. Miami's got the Dolphins, the greatest football team. 28-7, your score there. And it was Miami getting all their points before Breeze threw to Colston for a consolation touchdown. Team stats. It was 387 for Miami, 252 for New Orleans. 2 turnovers for New Orleans that may have proved costly. 8 penalties in the game. Breeze had a rating of 70, but Marino was on point, 20 for 31, 256, and 4 touchdown throws. Zonka, 17 carries and 91 yards. And we had 3 players with 6 catches. Thomas for New Orleans, 6 for 59. Nathan, 6 for 55. Landry, 6 for 97. And your leading tackler in the game was Waymer with 9 for New Orleans. So we're filling up the board. Minnesota and Green Bay had some great games in season number 1. But it's Minnesota winning on the road. They are the Road Warriors, 16-7. And in this game, it was Peterson who took MVP honors for the Vikes. Tarkenton threw a pass to Chris Carter to bounce the game wide open. Aaron Rodgers had a throw to Paul Kaufman. Team stats, it's 366 for New Orleans, 366 for Minnesota. New Orleans played earlier. 249 for Green Bay. 16 penalties. And Minnesota held the ball 35 minutes and 33 seconds. Rodgers actually had the better throwing game. But Gerard and Brock also went in and threw some passes. Brock had 7 carries, 39 yards. Peterson, 22 for 97. Kaufman had the best receiving day, 10 catches for $114. And the leading tackler was Nitschke, 10. In the Battle of Texas, who won that? Dallas and Houston. They now play each in the South Division. Dallas holds on 31-24. And it was Ezekiel Elliott running it in from 5 yards out. That was the difference. A very tight game. 31-24. It went the Cowboys' way. 754 yards of total offense. 412 to Dallas. 9 penalties. Possession time about even. Dallas ran 64 plays and Houston ran 63. Feel free to pause the stream and look at the stats that you're interested in. Staubach had the better throwing day, 27-39, 337. No touchdowns. 1 touchdown, I beg your pardon, and no interceptions. It's Ezekiel Elliott who is the lead running back now for Dallas in the absence of Emmitt Smith, who is now in Arizona. He had 16 carries for 54. Garrison and Witten each had 7 tackles. Las Vegas could have taken Jason Witten, but they passed. Witten had 7 catches for 83 and Garrison 7 for 47. Your leading tackler for either team, respectively, was Hedrick with 9 tackles. So Dallas, 31-24 winners over Houston. So we get down to the last column here. Denver and a new-look Arizona Cardinal team. Arizona prevails 22-14. So they go. I'm going to have to change that coloring schematic for Denver and make it blue and white because I can't read the orange on it. Rice picked up a safety in the game. I think that's the first safety we have had this year, and that cut a Denver lead from 6-3 to 6-5. So it was the Rockies playing the Diamondbacks there for a little bit. MVP of the game was Emmitt Smith. Team stats: 281 for Denver and 348 for Arizona. Arizona committing the only turnover. Time of possession was... Oh, this game went to overtime. My apologies for not picking up. It was also the first game to go OT. Arizona had the ball 43 of the 65 minutes. By the way, we still use the old school rules in overtime. It's 15 minutes sudden death. First team to score wins, because that's the way it was traditionally done. Peyton Manning went 23 for 45. Yeah, that font's killing me. 240 yards, and his rating was 81.7. Emmitt Smith, 15 for 73. Kurt Warner was 54 for 30. 30 for 54, 275. Centers, that was the best receiver, 11 catches for 90 yards. The leading defender was Gradishar and Atwater for Denver, 11 tackles each. So Arizona with the win, 22-19 in overtime. Seattle and Las Vegas. And that's going to be our last stop for this show. And then we're going to show you the games for next week. It was Las Vegas pounding Seattle 34-3. You never know what you get with Vegas, especially in these early years of the HTFL when we're using the rejects of the other teams. Usually, you never know what you're going to get, and sometimes it comes out nice for Vegas. Vegas was, I think, 7-9 or 8-8 last year. Leading passer was Carr, 13 for 24. He didn't really have to do much for a $168, 90.3. Colmer was the MVP. Let me just double check that. Yes, he was. Colmer, 10 for 36 and scored twice. Garner was the leading rusher, 15 of 53. We'll show you the stats in a moment. Rice, only 4 catches for 77. It was John L. Williams outshining him, 7 for 69. The leading tackler was, we actually had a tie. Nash and Brown for Seattle was 6 each. It was an even game, but Las Vegas capitalized every time they were in the red zone. They were in the red zone 4 times, 3 touchdowns and a field goal. Time of possession 32-23 for Vegas. Only 4 penalties in the game, so it was well played. And Vegas goes 1-0. With the 34-3 win. So that's it. Now let's show you the games we're going to cover week 2. The Monday night game will be Dallas and San Francisco. So first we're going to look for an East Coast game. And we already did, we're going to do New England next, so we're not going to do them again. We're going to do Seattle and New York. New York finished in the Final Four, so we didn't get a chance to showcase them this week. We're going to do Pittsburgh, Green Bay, St. Louis, and Las Vegas. And we're going to do Houston and Denver. Those are our Week 2 games, and that will start September 13th. So I hope you enjoyed our little recap and highlight show, I guess you could call it, where we show you the box scores of the games we didn't play. And we have 18-week season. We're going to do 5 games a week. We're going to do 105 games total. Actually, I take that back. Let me see here. Let me just do the math. No, it is 15 games. Because we do 4 first-round games, 4 second-round games, 4 quarterfinal games. No, my math is correct. It is 15 games. Hope you enjoyed the first recap highlight show we have done. Big Paulie coming to you. Wishing you well. Godspeed. God bless. Stay tuned if you're watching this before 7 o'clock September 10th for our game between Baltimore and New England. And bye-bye for now, everybody.